Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey.
We got some Brawl, we got some SmackDown, and we got some NXT to get through today. I'm gonna throw us a curveball. I'm gonna start on NXT. Because, we always start with Raw and SmackDown. Let's give the other side a chance. And I'm gonna go straight to the main event segments. Bron Breakker, and his father, embroiled in this feud with Joe Gacy, and it's starting to heat up.
Yeah, definitely. Joe Gacy is definitely stepping up to the plate with our young NXT champion, and it is neat seeing Rick involved. That's what I think, and that's the thing that was most was happy of us about with the Steiner brothers being inducted. Was Rick getting his due? Because I felt like Scott was known worldwide because of the Big Papa Pep character. Once they broke up the Steiner brothers, Rick just basically disappeared.
Yeah, it's good to see him back on our televisions again, and as a part of a big feud like this. I'm sure it's amazingly fun for him to be back on television, to be doing this role with his son. It's a good one, personally. I'm enjoying it. I'm also very interested to see where they go from here with Joe Gacy's character. Like, we had him with the unhinged guy next to him, and now he's got hooded figures next to him, and it seems like they're trying to do some sort of, I assume, cult kind of illusions with Joe Gacy, but he's getting some character push.
Yeah. And it's not that surprising when you consider the character that they've been portraying with him since he debuted. That he would develop a god complex and create a cult.
Yeah, it's definitely been taken up a notch.
Yeah. It's fun. I don't know if it's now's the moment to pull the trigger on making him the champion, but it should be fun to watch this play out.
Yeah, it'll be, like Bron Breakker did lose the title, then regain the title, and has been sort of, even with that, I'd still say Bron Breakker was the top guy in NXT 2.0 pretty much since the brand launched. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if they're going to give the title to Gacy at Spring Breakin. But, if they did, I'm not going to sit here super surprised.
No. But I do think there is one man out there that is being prepped for a shot at Bron Breakker that would likely beat him. And it's not Joe Gacy at this time. I think it's Grayson Waller. I think they're working on building him up slowly to the point where it really makes sense that he can take down Bron Breakker.
Yeah. He does have a match coming up out on NXT Spring Breakin as well against Nathan Frazier. He's been focused on pretty much the entire way through. It makes a whole lot of sense. And I just want to take a look at that NXT Spring Breakin show that is coming up, because we got a bit of a surprise this week setting up a match for that. The Viking Raiders making their return, their appearance on NXT 2.0 and facing off against the Creed brothers next week.
Yeah, that should be a fun little romp. It's definitely hard to say exactly what they want to do with the Creed brothers, but Viking Raiders, for all their faults, they are former tag team champions on the main roster. So putting them up against them is definitely a big plus, because it just further elevates them.
Yeah, I feel like this keeps coming back to the thing we're saying over and over, right? Is that the Creed brothers are being elevated. They are being moved up, pushed up. And I don't know if this is going to be a long-term stay with the Viking Raiders down here in NXT, or if this is going to be a little one-off appearance like a few of the other main roster stars. But while they're here, let's use them.
Basically the case with anybody that comes down to NXT from the main roster. Let's use them and elevate some of our younger talents.
Yeah, and let's see how that ends up going. Because if we're talking about bringing down people to NXT and using them to elevate, let's talk about another match that is set for next week. And we knew the Natalya Cora Jade stuff was heating up, but we're not quite getting a singles match. It's going to be Cora Jade and Nikita Lyons versus Natalya and Lash Legend.
Let's call this what it is. This is a match to elevate both Jade and Nikita.
Yes, 100%.
Nikita's getting over huge for no reason, just the way she pens people. But she's getting over big time, and then I've said it multiple times. We've said it multiple times. Jade Cora is the future of this division.
Mm-hmm.
And then Natalya is just the veteran that's further elevating basically everybody involved in this match, including Lash Legend.
Yeah, I assume this match ends with Lash Legend taking a fall, but it does feel like there could still be more to this, like a Cora Jade Natalya singles down the line. So excited to see how they're going to build this and how they're going to continue this feud through. This is the classic taking two feuds and mashing them together kind of thing. But it's good, and I'm sure we're going to see a good match out of these four women.
Yeah. I would definitely, if I'm Lyons and Cora, I'd pick the heck out of Natalya's brain. As much as I can in these next few weeks while she's down.
Yeah, you don't want to let up that wealth of knowledge. When those are available, you just take as much out of that well as you can. You get all of the buckets you got and you start just bucketing.
Become a sponge.
Become a sponge. And then we might as well just talk about the last match on NXT Spring Breakin. We've talked about the others at this point. Cameron Grimes, your boy, the NXT North American champion, has to defend it in a triple threat match against Carmelo Hayes and Solo Sikoa.
This will be a really good match. All three can go. But I think this ends with Sika Solo walking out with the title, as much as it pains me.
You just don't want to see your boy losing.
I don't. But I know, I kind of figured at the beginning what the Cameron Grimes would probably just be a champion. And it makes sense to transition it to Solo, since they've been elevating him so hard. And you can even somewhat tie that into what the Bloodline does. Too. We don't need to put it back on Carmelo. And if Cameron Grimes finds a way to hold on to it, more power to him. Yeah. But I think the Triple Crown is the reason why he will lose the title.
Fair enough. Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens next week on NXT. We're going to go into our entrance theme a little early this week, just so we can put a nice little separator between NXT and the main roster here. And that theme, for no explainable reason, is the theme for Asuka. And you're back with Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh. And so that theme was Asuka. Why was that theme Asuka?
Well, it's because she made her return to the WWE.
Yeah, she's coming back after quite a while now. And immediately picking up where she left off, really.
Yeah, into a feud with Becky Lynch. This should be fun. It's definitely a way to bring Asuka back as a major player without immediately having her either A, attacking the champion, or B, losing to the champion and losing steam that she could have raised.
Mm-hmm.
So, I like this. It definitely makes sense, because, after all, Becky, when she left to go have her baby, she did literally hand the title to Asuka. And they mentioned that in the promo and stuff, and so it makes sense for this to be her first feud back.
Yeah. The interesting part for me here is who ends up going over. Because we've got Becky Lynch, who's still hot as hell coming off that WrestleMania feud, and then Asuka coming back from an injury, coming into this return. It seems, and this is probably why it's so awesome and so highly anticipated, is it's a feud that neither can really afford to lose.
Yeah. I really think that losing here would actually benefit Becky. They're starting to play this, like, unhinged type character with her. She's starting to lose her mind a little bit. And I think further losses can further bring that out. And so I think her losing to Asuka would absolutely be beneficial, as it will further her new character.
Yeah, I guess that could make a whole lot of sense, because I feel like Asuka probably needs the win a bit more, since Bianca Belair in that championship role, her contenders, she already knocked off Sonya Deville, and so if it's not going to be Becky Lynch, I imagine Bianca Belair versus Asuka might be on the horizon once she's finished up with Lynch.
It's possible. There are also other options, and there's no guarantee that Belair is done with Sonya Deville. It's also possible that Belair may have to face Carmella and Queen Selina too, at some point.
Yeah. There's a few more, like, I don't know, I don't want to call them, like, fodder opponents, but, like, I don't see Queen Zelina or Carmella winning here against Bianca Belair. If I'm looking at credible threats who could take her title, then Asuka is one of those. But yeah, I imagine that some combination of Deville, Zelina, and Carmella is going to be the current feud based on how that match ended up going.
Yeah, it's definitely a situation where they definitely made our champion look extremely powerful because they overcome such salacious odds. I do think it also leads it towards more of Sonya getting fired as an official. With maybe her last act before she gets fired being another title shot for her.
True. Yeah, I could see this happening a few different ways, because we still don't know fully if Sonya Deville is going to transition back to that 100% wrestler role. She is floating in the middle right now, so we will have to wait and see. And then the main event of Raw, just because I really want to talk to this, and I don't want to run out of time on this one. Randy Orton, 20 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, he's had an amazing career. And the funny thing is that with the shape he's in, he could go another 10 years if he wanted to. It just goes back to remind you just how young he was when he hit the main roster.
Oh, yeah.
2002. Because he was like 21 when he hit the main roster. So he has done just about everything you can do, and then some. And if John Cena did not exist, Randy Orton would be in the consideration for a lot of people's greatest of all time Mount Rushmore, because that's how big Randy Orton was. It's just he had a shadow cast over him by somebody who was even bigger.
Yeah.
It's basically the same situation as when with Macho Man. And Macho Man was a huge star, but he had this giant son above him called Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I do believe that throughout that entire era, like, you can argue about like a top 5, a top 10, whatever you want. The top 1 and 2, the 1A, 1B, as you like to call them, were John Cena and Randy Orton. Those guys lasted a huge amount of time at the top. I know it's a meme to talk about the amount of matches they had together, but they had a lot of matches together because they were both at the top of the card constantly. And Randy Orton's shown that even 20 years later, he can still be at the top of this card.
Yeah, and it wasn't like they weren't great in the ring together. They had chemistry. Every time that you had a match with it, you knew probably what you were going to get, but you knew you were going to get a good match.
Yeah.
And they never disappointed. So Orton, I think, is on one of his best runs too in his career, and that's saying something considering the Legend Killer run, the Legacy run, and the stuff he did in 2012 too with the Authority.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the stuff he's done since the pandemic has been his best stuff.
I know he's talked about how hanging out with Riddle and doing the RK Bro stuff has been some of the most fun he's had in the WWE, and we've always talked about how a motivated Randy Orton is one of the best in the ring. And I think that's why it's all coming off so well, because Randy's just having so much fun and enjoying what he's doing, so he's putting his A game into every match he has, every promo he has. And honestly, as much as we're sitting here like, RK Bro should break up, they should break up, I got a feeling maybe Randy Orton's the reason they haven't, just because he is having so much fun doing his thing with Riddle that he just wants to, live it out as long as he can.
Yeah, definitely fair enough. I definitely don't hold that against him if that is the case, that he is the glue that's holding the team together right now. But let's enjoy what he has left, and Riddle's so much further along than we thought he could have been before this RKO Bro stuff. So.
Yeah, it's a good one, and it was capped all off by this 8-man tag team match at the end of the night as well, combining 3 feuds all into one, where RK Bro teamed up with Ezekiel and teamed up with Cody Rhodes for a slight legacy reunion, and took on the team of Kevin Owens, the Usos, and Seth Rollins. And it was a great match, and harkens back to the days where we'd always sort of end our show with a 6-man or an 8-man tag team match of feuds being jammed together.
Yeah, and it was just a celebration for Randy Orton.
Yeah,
that's what this was. It was just Randy Orton hits an RKO into everybody from various ages, even if it doesn't make sense. We're still hitting an RKO. Like, for example, the one on one of the Usos, from out of nowhere. Where's that Uso going to land? There was no body for him to splash, so why was he jumping off the top rope?
We don't ask questions.
We don't ask questions here. But yeah, it was fun. And not just say that this stuff that with Ezekiel has just been way better than it should have been. And I've just enjoyed it. And then I see this video on their YouTube page as exclusive of him and Glenn Jacobs together, and they're just both pretending to be that Kane is a different person. And they're both just a fan of Kane. This is just so much fun.
Yeah, it's they've been doing so much good stuff with Ezekiel. I feel like we say it every week, where we just want to sit here and see more, right? Like, it's good stuff. One thing I do want to talk about from SmackDown while we still have a little bit of time is the main event section of SmackDown is heating up. Obviously, we had Nakamura sort of poke his nose in at Reigns. That hasn't quite gone anywhere. But now we're seeing Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn being a huge feud rolling around this. We've got Jinder Mahal shoving his nose in. We got Sami Zayn trying to cozy up with Roman Reigns. I could see something happening around here as well.
Yeah, that should be fun to watch. Sami Zayn just pure comedy gold. And to see him come up with inventive ways of escaping Drew McIntyre is just fun. Oh, you ran away? We're going to have a lumberjack match. Still manages to run away. So next week we're getting a steel cage match.
To be fair, if he runs away again, he wins the match.
Yeah. I think this will be maybe one of the few steel cage matches that doesn't have interference.
Yeah.
Unless they decide to pull the trigger on Roman doing something. That's really the only way I see a situation where somebody gets involved in this match is if they bring in the Bloodline, which I don't really see a reason for it. I think Sami takes a clean loss here next week. And we continue building Drew to an eventual date that we know is coming with Roman Reigns. It's just a matter of when they do that. Personally, I would wait until that UK pay-per-view. But if I've seen people suggest SummerSlam, which would be fine. But
yeah, we've got so much to do between now and then. I just don't know what they're gonna do with the SmackDown scene at the moment, right? Because I don't know, a part of me kinda wants to see Sami Zayn join the Bloodline. Kinda just wants to see him oddball, comedy man, that for some reason, like the Usos don't like him, don't understand why he's there, but Roman's like, no, Sami is one of us kind of deal. I don't know, that just sort of tickles my fancy as another evolution, where Sami's just truly trying to hide behind them, and could extend or sort of give Drew McIntyre some fodder to beat up before heading into the big clash that we know, as you say, is eventually coming down the line. But, we were sitting here a while ago saying, Shinsuke Roman Reigns was the obvious one, and now Shinsuke seems to have fallen off the face of the planet when it comes to this sort of stuff, and people like Jinder Mahal are shoving out his nose and getting into it, and there's just a lot happening without the most, obvious direction being laid out in front of us. It could go one of a million ways.
Yeah, it definitely could. We'll definitely have to see where we go here, but I do agree that it would be funny to see Zayn involved with the Bloodline. I would have to see how they make these leaps of faith that you'd have to take to make it make sense. But it would be fun to see if they could make it work. It'd be also fun just to see Zayn think he's been accepted, only to be destroyed by the Bloodline.
Yeah, I know that they've done a similar thing in New Japan, where they had the sort of subset of the Bullet Club that was like your Bad Luck Fales and your Gorilla of Destinies, and they had the whitest of the white from Tennessee, Chase Owens, joined them, and he had shirts made up that was like honorary Tongan, and all of this stuff, and he just kept teaming with them, and that was like his little group that he was a part of with them. And this kind of reminds me of that, where it would be, the full Samoan dynasty and Sami Zayn. And I think Chase added quite a little bit of dynamic to that area, and I could just see them doing it again in the WWE with a bigger audience and seeing their own little spin on it.
Yeah. There does typically seem to be an oddball in most factions. So if Sami's that oddball, more power to him. It'll be an entertaining oddball.
And we've got a very small amount of time left. Is there anything left from Raw or SmackDown that you'd like to touch before we run out of time?
See, Mustafa Ali returned.
That's true. So yeah, we got a few different returns that we got to hit up on Raw. If we didn't have time, we will talk about them for sure next week. But yeah, returns and defeats The Miz too. Seems to be making his aim at the title that just got around Theory's waist.
Yeah. Unfortunately for him, he also seems to have caught the ire of the no longer Tommaso Ciampa.
I can't call him Tomato Ciampa anymore.
Nope. This one actually, of all the name changes, this one makes the most sense. No, almost nobody called him Tommaso. Everybody called him Ciampa, so it makes sense. It's like the whole situation with Riddle. Nobody called him Matt Riddle. They called him Riddle.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what they do with Ali here. Obviously, there's been rumors around him working with Edge's group, and he's aiming at Theory, and Ciampa's after him. It seems as though after, wanting to walk out and leave. They're doing something with him for sure.
Yeah, if you're willing to put in the work, they'll work with you. Just ask Bobby Lashley. He put in the work, he became WWE Champion.
And that is all we have time for this week. We'll talk about a bunch of the stuff that we missed next week. It's been great talking to you.
Bye, B.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/WrestlingRND-up, or our Twitter page, twitter.com/WrestlingRND-up, or our YouTube page, youtube.com/WrestlingRND-up. And we will see you next week.